When young train engineer Denis saw a pack of wolves standing motionless on the tracks ahead, he assumed they'd run at the last moment, like most wild animals do. But the wolves didn't move. They stood their ground, as if protecting something invisible. With only seconds to react, Denis pulled the emergency brake, knowing full well the heavy freight train might not stop in time. He closed his eyes, bracing for the worst. Screeching metal tore through the silence of the snowy forest as the train slowed down, just barely stopping less than 30 feet from the animals. When Denis looked again, the wolves were still there, heads raised, howling, not with fear, but as if warning or guarding something. Then slowly they parted. What he saw next sent chills down his spine. Denis grew up in a tiny village nestled deep in the Siberian wilderness, where the train depot was the heart of local life. His father and grandfather were railroad men, and he followed in their footsteps, literally and professionally. After earning his engineering degree in the city, Denis returned to his hometown. He missed the crisp forest air, the sound of crunching snow, and the quiet strength of the taiga. He started small at the depot, but his determination earned him respect and a promotion to senior engineer on freight trains, massive steel beasts that traveled hundreds of miles across Siberia. He loved his work. Every trip offered him a chance to see the untamed beauty of the land, especially in winter. Snow-covered forests, frozen rivers glinting like glass, and skies so clear they seemed endless. It was on one such winter day, with the sun casting diamond-like sparkles on the snow, that everything changed. It began like any routine trip. Denis was alone in the cab, guiding his freight train through miles of snowy woods. Then, far ahead, he noticed a dark shape on the tracks. Too far to identify, but clearly not debris. As he approached, the shape became clearer. Animals, wolves, they stood tightly packed, blocking the tracks with no sign of fear. Denis sounded the horn. The blaring echo rang through the forest. Nothing. The wolves didn't flinch. That was the moment he felt something was terribly wrong. In a split-second decision, Denis slammed the emergency brake. The train screeched and groaned as it fought to slow its massive weight. He clenched his fists, preparing for a collision. But the train stopped, just in time. And then the wolves moved. As they stepped aside, they revealed an elderly man lying on the tracks. Denis froze. The wolves didn't run away or attack. They simply stood nearby, watching him. Once they faded into the trees, Denis jumped down, a metal rod in hand just in case, and rushed toward the man. To his shock, it was Stepan Mikhailovich, the village's retired forest ranger, a man in his 70s whom Denis had known since childhood. But that wasn't the worst part. Stepan's hands were cuffed to the rails. His wrists were raw, the skin torn from the cold steel biting into his flesh. Denis, furious and shaken, freed him. And then he heard the story. Stepan had spent his life protecting the forest and its wildlife, especially from poachers. Over the years, he had saved countless animals, especially wolves, reporting every illegal hunter he found. But that made enemies. One day, the poachers ambushed him, knocked him out, dragged him to the tracks, and cuffed him there, hoping a train would take care of their problem. When he came to, Stepan had no hope left until he heard the wolves, the same wolves he had once protected, now returned the favor. They surrounded him, made themselves visible on the tracks, and forced Denis to stop, just in time. To this day, Denis slows down whenever he passes that stretch of forest. And sometimes, through the thick snow-covered pines, he swears he sees gray shadows watching quietly from the trees. Silent guardians of the taiga, loyal beyond words, bound by something deeper than instinct. Also watch our other videos, for example about the girl who taught a gorilla sign language, and here's what came out of it. Or about how 9 Japanese prisoners gave birth to a Soviet soldier's 73rd child.